The night enveloped everything in a hush, as if the world itself paused to take a breath. The rain cascaded down in a gentle rhythm, a soft and unwavering tapping that echoed against the windows of our Colorado home for hours on end. The wind wove its way through the trees, as if sharing secrets that lingered just beyond the reach of eager ears. There I stood in the hallway, barefoot and wrapped in my robe, my heart racing beneath my skin. My fingers rested upon the doorknob, not due to any lapse in memory, not that I intended to be present, yet it was due to a sound. A gentle, melodic whisper emanating from beyond the threshold. The chamber belonging to Ethan, the chamber of my stepson. It was not a cacophony. Clarity eluded the moment, yet it was undeniable, the sort of sound that halts your entire being, for a fragment of you is already aware. Yet, there exists another facet of your being that hesitates. The passage of time eludes my memory as I stood there, lost in thought. Just 5 seconds? 10? Long enough to perceive how the sound harmonized flawlessly with the tempest raging beyond. As if thunder had discovered a heartbeat, I was acutely aware that I ought to have turned and left. I have returned to my room. The door was closed, yet I refrained. In that moment, I chose to listen. I remained, as I finally cracked the door open. Merely an inch, just enough to glimpse the world beyond. I transformed everything. It's amusing how life unfolds in such unexpected ways. In an instant, you find yourself merely defined as someone's wife, a certain individual's stepmother. In the next moment, you find yourself a woman enveloped in darkness, listening to a sound that will forever echo in your memory. Little did I know what awaited me beyond that door, yet I chose to open it regardless. The exterior of the house presents a striking beauty. It has always been this way. Nestled within the embrace of the Colorado mountains, this is the sort of destination that captures the imagination during weekend excursions, prompting whispers of, "Now that's a dream." 2 stories high, expansive windows, a charming wraparound porch, a small garden, seemingly barren, where nothing wild ever flourishes. Yet within, silence envelopes the surroundings. In a state of unrest, silence reigns, a silence so profound it weighs upon your heart, as if you are treading the path of another's existence. For 7 years, I have shared this space with my husband, Richard. He is a retired Army officer, marked by discipline, reliability, and a meticulous nature that compels him to fold his socks in the same precise manner each morning. He finds solace in systems, craves structure, and cherishes silence. Perhaps that is the reason he held affection for me. I remained silent as well. In those days, from the very start, our marriage lacked the fervor that one might expect. Yet it remained steadfast, secure, honorable, until it began to resemble a performance rather than a true partnership. We transformed into 2 individuals cohabiting a space, synchronizing our schedules, and compiling a shopping list, yet possessing little beyond that. He ceased inquiring about the nature of my day. I ceased to share when pain pierced my being. Though we shared the same bed, an unbridgeable distance lingered between us, a barrier unseen, forged from apathy. In the solitude of the shower, I would let tears fall silently, a reminder that I was still capable of feeling something profound. Then Ethan arrived, the son of Richard from his initial marriage. At the age of 21, he stood tall, an intensity radiating from him, his eyes betraying a wisdom far beyond his years. He took up residence with us following a tumultuous split from his mother. I refrained from inquiring further. It was not my role to do so. It was a moment etched in my memory. One day, his car glided up the driveway, and the very next, his boxes found their place in the guest room. Initially, we maintained a certain distance between us. Respectful, proceed with caution. Yet, the stillness that had long resided within the walls of the house began to transform. It remained, steadfast and unyielding, simply transformed its hue. It grew weightier, more inviting, increased peril. Initially, slipping into the roles felt effortless. I played the role of the courteous stepmother. He was a reserved young man finding his footing in an unfamiliar setting. We exchanged knowing nods. We embraced simplicity. Shallow. I inquired whether he desired additional rice. He expressed his gratitude. With care, I folded his laundry and placed it neatly outside his door. He uttered a muted thanks through the timber. We never tarried. Lines were never crossed. Always, a chasm lay between us, both in the tangible world and in the depths of our hearts. However, Ethan exuded an aura, quiet, unobtrusive, simply striking, like a shadow that chose not to follow the light. It observed it intently. He observed, not in a manner that seemed intrusive. It resembles an individual attempting to piece together a puzzle devoid of any guidance. At times, I could sense his gaze upon me as I sliced through vegetables or tended to the thirsty plants. I would gaze upward, and he would avert his eyes, but not before an unspoken connection lingered in the air between us. A brief glimmer of recognition. In the realm of consciousness, he caught sight of me, not in the role of a stepmother, not in the capacity of Richard's wife, simply myself. It had been ages since anyone had attempted that. It was not mere flirtation. Initially, not at all. There existed neither a smirk nor a charm, nor any hint of intention. Only those serene eyes and the rare, soft thank you as I placed his dinner plate before him. As time stretched on, I became increasingly aware that the silence enveloping us was far from void. The space was brimming, heavy with an unvoiced tension. I started to look forward to it, not fear, free from guilt, yet there lingered a peculiar sense of anticipation. It's akin to the anticipation of a melody unfolding, one you never realized held a special place in your heart until the initial chords danced through the air. On certain evenings, I found myself gazing across the dinner table, anticipating the moment he would lift his eyes to meet mine, yearning for that fleeting moment of connection through a shared gaze. The soft click echoed, a gentle reminder of my lingering presence. Yet, how I longed to declare that the conclusion arrived at that point. Following that night outside Ethan's door, I acted in accordance with what a virtuous woman, what a devoted mother, ought to have done. I marked a boundary. I constructed a barrier. I silenced the part of me that had begun to awaken, yet I refrained. Rather, I took it along with me. The image in question, the resonance of that sound, the sensation that envelopes you, it adhered to me as tenaciously as the oppressive heat of summer. Like a fragrance I never intended to don, I reassured myself that it was merely a trivial matter. I found myself utterly shaken. It was never about him. It was about the act of being recognized. On the subject of desire and longing, only for a fleeting moment, yet moments elongate, they proliferate, and in the blink of an eye they mold your moments. I started to observe details that had previously escaped my attention. The graceful arc of Ethan's shoulder as he leaned into the fridge. His voice took on a deeper resonance in the stillness of the night when shadows cloaked the house. The fragrance he abandoned in the corridor. Pure, subtle, youthful, divine assistance. I have become acutely aware of everything, and I loathed myself for it. I was not meant to gaze upon it. I was not meant to experience emotions. I was never meant to desire, yet I did, not in a way that is driven by desire or thoughtlessness, not akin to a mere trite fantasy. The pace was more languid, more melancholic. It's akin to emerging from a deep slumber, only to discover the chill that has enveloped you. Ethan remained inactive. He always maintained his boundaries. Yet, the atmosphere surrounding us began to glisten, similar to the shimmer of heat rising from the pavement. It is akin to the stillness that envelopes the world just prior to the tempest's arrival. I would seek out reasons to linger in his presence. Concise pieces, petite in size. Set aside the laundry folding for later. Prepare a soothing cup of tea following the evening meal. Unveil a window in the corridor adjacent to his chamber. It was never about him. That is precisely what I continued to assert. Yet the reality, it was never about me either. It was a reflection of a self I had not encountered in many years. A woman who captured attention. A woman whose presence was essential. And each time I urged myself to turn back, I did not, for the simple reason that I cherished the warmth, the peril, the sensation. The hour was late. The hour has slipped past midnight, the sort of hour when the house seems to lose its pulse, drifting into a quiet oblivion. The wind had intensified, caressing the windows with a gentle touch, reminiscent of delicate fingertips. Rest eluded me. I found myself caught in a restless dance of tossing and turning. Rising once more, my feet kissed the cool floor, the robe clinging snugly around me. I had no intention of looking in on him. I found myself without a purpose. As I made my way down the hallway, a sound caught my attention. Not an accident. Not mere words. Simply motion, a subtle cadence, akin to a pulse lingering just beneath the skin. I took a moment to reflect. Ethan's door stood ajar, just enough for a slender beam of light to cascade onto the shadowy floor. A gentle glow, unwavering and inviting, emanates from the screen within. I ought to have turned and left. I am aware, yet I refrained. I crept closer, just enough to catch a glimpse through the narrow opening. My breath hitched the instant I grasped the significance of what lay before me. Ethan reclined upon his bed. His body was partially turned, a hand slipping beneath the blanket. The glow of the screen bathed his face in a gentle blue hue. His lips parted ever so slightly, concentrated, adrift. Yet that was not the reason that left me utterly frozen. The video was in motion, the unsteady silhouette, the soft glow of the dim lighting, the sound soft yet recognizable. I was the one, long ago, accompanied by Richard, a moment I believed was long buried, erased, and lost to time. Yet it stood before me, displayed on Ethan's screen, engaging in a manner reminiscent of a hidden truth I had long forgotten. He observed intently, not in a casual manner. It was not by chance, with purpose, driven by intention, with an insatiable appetite. Motion eluded me, breath eluded me. My whole being resembled fragile glass, delicate and see-through. I retreated gradually, careful to remain silent. I shut the door softly, pressing my back against it, my heart racing in my chest. A cry of frustration welled up inside me. To weep, to be filled with rage. Yet what resonated within me the most was a profound sense of vulnerability. Observed, yearned for, and I loathed myself for not loathing it more. In the aftermath of that night, silence reigned. Yet all was transformed. It began in the intimate corners. In that fleeting moment, his gaze held a touch of hesitation, lingering just a heartbeat longer than necessary. His gaze transformed as I stepped into the room, gentler, more deliberate, imbued with a sense of reverence. On a particular morning, I stumbled upon a note, carefully folded and placed beneath the sugar bowl. It lay in quiet repose. 5 simple words, inscribed in a tilted, irregular hand. You are worthy of being truly experienced. I gazed at it intently, my fingers quivering with anticipation. I ought to have discarded it. It ought to have been crumpled, wiped away. Yet I refrained. I gently tucked it away into the drawer nestled beneath the kitchen towels. Occasionally, I would retrieve it, a tangible reminder of its undeniable presence in my life. Unintentionally, I began to transform as well. I find myself allowing my hair to flow freely with greater frequency. Select gentler materials, garments that embraced rather than draped. Not immediately clear, nothing outrageous, just enough to awaken a sense of presence within me once more. As I traversed the hallway adjacent to his room, my pace slowed considerably. Not to entice, yet to be noticed, and he indeed caught sight of me, not always through words, but through a silence so dense it felt like a weight upon my skin, with glances that held for a heartbeat longer than mere innocence. One afternoon, as I was organizing the living room, I accidentally toppled a stack of books resting on the coffee table. A sketchbook tumbled to the ground, creaked open by itself, and there I found myself, rendered in shades of graphite and shadow. Perched on the bed's edge, I gently swept my hair back. The gentle arc of my shoulder, the subtle inclination of my neck. It was undeniably me, fragile, authentic, personal. My breath hitched. I chose not to discard it, chose not to confront him. I found myself rooted to the spot, gazing at a reflection of my being that I never realized had been perceived by another. And after a long stretch of time, a sense of beauty enveloped me. It infiltrated my senses gradually, yet I sensed it, transformed in the manner Ethan regarded me. The silence that lingered between us had transformed, no longer merely empty. It was a state of unease. Electrified, he began to express himself more frequently, neither with great volume nor frequency. Yet that is sufficient. It was sufficient to unveil the transformation occurring within him. As the sun dipped below the horizon, we found ourselves tidying up the remnants of our meal, clearing the table of dishes and memories alike. On that particular night, Richard had chosen to remain at home, a rarity indeed. He inquired about a cherished recipe from my past. A smile crept onto my face as I made a light-hearted joke, my hand brushing against his arm instinctively. It had become a routine, nothing further. Yet Ethan perceived it, his jaw clenched with tension. He remained silent for a moment. The plates were piled with a bit too much fervor, their clatter slicing through the stillness of the kitchen. Later, as Richard retreated to his study, I discovered Ethan standing by the sink, vigorously drying a glass with an intensity that seemed almost excessive. "You're mad," I murmured gently. He kept his gaze fixed downward. "I am not. You exist." A moment of stillness. Then, just above a whisper, "You still regard him as if he holds significance." I stood still, caught in a moment of disbelief. Those words, they shattered a barrier within. Not due to their error, but rather because they were too near to a truth I had yet to acknowledge, even within the confines of my own mind. "It's not like that," I murmured, my voice quaking with emotion. Yet he merely shook his head. "You allowed me a glimpse of your true self. You allowed me to experience something genuine. And then you returned to him just as I envisioned it." Words failed me, for I had withheld my heart from him, not out of indifference, but out of love. I hadn't truly contemplated it at all. I yearned to experience the thrill of life once more, to be desired, to experience a gentle caress. Yet Ethan, he had allowed himself to embrace deeper emotions. Excessive. He gazed at me as if I were a vow waiting to be fulfilled, and I gazed at him as if he were a fleeting instant. Perhaps that represents the most perilous form of imbalance imaginable. Without a hint of forewarning, the storm arrived. It was one of those nights in Colorado when the sky deepens into darkness in an instant, and the air crackles with a palpable energy. The power cut out at approximately 9 p.m. The house descended into a hush, interrupted solely by the soft patter of rain and the faint rumble of thunder in the distance. Candles flickered to life, sufficient to ward off the encroaching shadows. The shimmering light bathed the living room in a warm, golden hue, gentle, nearly divine. His descent from the upstairs was a surprise I hadn't anticipated. Yet he did, unshod, without a shirt. His hair, still damp from the shower, clung to his forehead. He halted in his tracks at the sight of me, a candle flickering in his grasp. He stepped closer, slowly, as if he feared disturbing the delicate air that hung between us. We occupied opposing ends of the coffee table, two silhouettes cast against the glow of a flickering flame that danced between us. A lengthy silence stretched between us, just heard the storm whispering against the walls. Then I inquired. Silence. Just a breath above silence. "What is it about that video?" He remained steadfast, simply locked my gaze, unwavering and serene. "Because," he said, "it was the sole moment I witnessed you being cherished." A fissure formed deep within me, not with great volume, not with aggression, yet, akin to ice melting in your grasp, subtle, unavoidable. He extended his hand across the table. Our fingers brushed against each other, not a mere acquisition, not a request, simply an invitation. I remained steadfast, unwilling to retreat. Our gazes remained intertwined as I drew nearer, as he inclined forward, as the distance that separated us at last vanished. When his lips brushed against mine, it unfolded with a deliberate grace. It was not incorrect. It simply existed. Outside, the world was alive with the fury of wind and thunder. Yet in that instant, the sole sound that filled the air was the rhythm of breath, and the gentle whisper of two souls shattering every promise they believed they would uphold. The dawn arrived far too quickly. The storm had moved on, yet the atmosphere remained thick with an unsettling weight. The house seemed to hold onto the past, its memories lingering despite our efforts to forget. I rose before the dawn's first light. My body aches, The clamor within my mind reached an unprecedented volume. I quietly slipped out of bed, avoiding a glance back, enveloped myself in my robe, and descended the stairs as if fleeing from the truth itself. Silence enveloped the living room. Silence envelopes the space. The candle had extinguished its flame. The blanket lay undisturbed upon the floor. A glass lay on its side, abandoned and overlooked. I tidied everything quietly, as though the act of cleaning could somehow wipe away our past actions. Ethan remained absent from breakfast. At long last, after what felt like an eternity, he strode by me in silence, offering no words, not a single look, without a moment's doubt, only emptiness. Thus commenced the era of quietude. There shall be no clash. There shall be no expressions of regret. There shall be no notes penned in the quiet hours of the night. Only emptiness surrounds. He didn't evade my presence, not in the truest sense. Yet he did not come looking for me either. The warmth in his voice faded into a chill. His gaze had ceased to seek out my own. Our conversations were limited to the essentials. The dinner simmers on the stove. Could you pass me that? Respectful. Remote. Empty. I endeavored to maintain a facade of normalcy, made an effort to smile at the appropriate times, to prepare as if everything remained unchanged. Yet, I sensed it, woven through each word, each pause, this profound ache. This void trailed behind me, an ever-present specter. That night remained unspoken between us, never, in some inexplicable way that only deepened the despair. For all the efforts to deny its existence, the truth remained unchanged. It only served to deepen the chasm that lay between us. Increasingly intolerable, he started to linger into the night, returning home after I had already settled into slumber. On certain nights, I would strain to catch the sound of his car, allowing silent tears to soak my pillow in the absence of its familiar arrival. I longed to experience a sensation. Indeed, I had, yet the aftermath caught me by surprise. The void that love fails to occupy, the quietude that remorse cannot shatter. Last night, I found myself standing before the mirror, choosing not to attend to my hair, not to inspect for creases or adjust my blouse. I simply remained in place, gazing intently. The woman gazing back at me bore a striking resemblance. Yet not in the same way as I do, more mature. Indeed, however, there is also drained completely, as if a vital part of her essence had been chiseled away, unbeknownst to her. I raised my hand to the pain. In that fleeting moment, guilt eluded my gaze. I beheld a silence that had sharpened its fangs. No one ever discovered the truth. Richard never inquired. Ethan remained silent. Life continued its course, unblemished by the passage of time. To the casual observer, we appeared to be just another family. Yet dinner was still consumed. The laundry remains neatly folded, awaiting its next purpose. Consistently settled bills punctually. Yet, the retribution did not originate from external forces. It emerged from the stillness, the chasm that lies between two souls who once perceived each other with such clarity, and now find it unbearable to lock gazes. That stillness? It resonates with a volume surpassing any cry, permeates your very essence. It resonates at the brink of each instant, each recollection, each aspiration you once held dear. It lingers, an unyielding presence. Thus, I find myself in this moment, unveiling a narrative I never imagined I would share. Not that I seek your forgiveness, not because I believe you are obligated to comprehend me, yet, perhaps, there exists another soul poised at a comparable threshold. Fingers poised on the handle, heart racing, on the verge of unveiling something irrevocable. If that resonates with you, kindly lend me your ear. Longing is not affection. Attention does not equate to intimacy. The warmth you seek in the chill of winter, if it ignites too swiftly, may ultimately result in nothing but remnants of ash. Before you take that step, pause and reflect. Is it truly worthwhile to transform into a version of yourself that you may not even recognize in the future? I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever made a decision that transformed you for good? Pass this tale along to someone who could benefit from its message. Subscribe for more unfiltered, genuine narratives that serve as a reminder. We are all just one choice away from losing touch with our true selves.